Good day, Junior Tikkies. I'm Mrs. Brimacombe. We are going to look at Chapter 11, VAT Activity 4. Super Bicycles Limited is registered for VAT and uses the invoice basis to record its VAT transactions. The business submits a VAT return bi-monthly. The business uses a markup of 85% on cost at all times. If we look at, again, what does invoice base mean? Invoice base means that we are liable to pay over that money to SARS on every single invoice that was issued, irrelevant if we've received the money or not. Bi-monthly means every second month. Question 4.1. Choose the correct words from those within brackets. VAT is an indirect tax. 4.1.2. VAT on bad debts recovered of 16,100 will increase the amount payable to SARS. Why? Because when we've decided to write off bad debts as irrecoverable, we're not going to receive that money, we could get a reduction on the amount that is payable to SARS. But now, once we've collected that money, which we've written off as bad debts, in other words, we've recovered that money, we cannot say, but we're not going to now pay over that money to SARS. That will be unethical. That money which we collect, the VAT amount, is owed to SARS and must be paid over to SARS. Question 4.1.3. VAT payable to SARS is a liability to the business. If VAT is receivable from SARS, that is regarded as an asset. It's important to make sure that you understand your theory. This is easy marks to get in an exam. Question 4.2. Calculate the VAT amount owing to SARS at the end of July 2022 by completing the VAT Control Account. So in this activity, the focus is now by completing the VAT control, so recording all the transactions directly in the VAT Control Account. I'm going to open up the VAT output and the VAT input account. It's just a tool that you can use if you are not 100% sure how to show it directly in the VAT Control Account. Balances on the 1st of July 2022. VAT output has a credit balance 5,560. VAT input debit balance 8,210. So this is my first calculation. The difference will be the balance in the VAT Control Account. Because VAT output is less than VAT input, it means that that money is receivable from SARS, so the balance in the VAT Control Account will appear on the debit side. Transaction number 1. 8 Trek bicycles with a selling price of 18,000, excluding VAT, each was sold on credit. So we've sold 8 bicycles. So the first step is to calculate 18,000 times 8, and then we need to say times 15% because this is excluding VAT. Because we sold these items on credit, it means that VAT will be collected and therefore VAT output will be credited. If VAT output is credited, it means that the VAT Control Account will be credited. My details, debtors control, from the debtors journal, 21,600. Transaction 2, number 2. Brooklyn took stock for personal use. The VAT on this amounted to 3,750. So there's no calculation involved here. Because the owner took it for personal use, it means this must now be regarded as if we are selling the item. That VAT is owed to SARS. It means that VAT output is going to be credited with 3,750. If VAT output is credited, it means that the VAT Control Account will be credited. My details, drawings, and this will happen in the General Journal. Transaction number 3, invoices reflected the following purchases. So invoice means items purchased, input VAT is involved. First, the trading stock that was purchased, because the amount including that was given, we have to say times 15 divided by 115. For stationery, the same needs to happen. The stationery amount was 2,231 times 15 divided by 115. That equals 291. The total, 7,116, will now appear on the debit side in the VAT control account, and my details is creditors control. If your VAT input account is debited, it means that the VAT control account will be debited. Transaction number 4, trading stock with a selling price of 22,080, including VAT, was sold for cash. Because goods were sold for cash, it means VAT will be collected. Therefore, output VAT is going to be credited. They provided you with the amount including VAT. So to find out the VAT amount, we have to say times 15 divided by 115. If VAT output is credited, it means that my VAT control account will also be credited. Details, bank, because this was sold for cash, and this will happen in your cash receipts journal. Transaction number 5, credit note 100 was issued to VAT for defective stock. The VAT portion amounted to 3,885. Debit note 90 was sent to the supplier together with the defective stock. The selling price was 25,900, excluding VAT. So here are 2 different things that's happening in this transaction. First, credit note 100 was issued. Credit note means that this debtor, VAT, returned the defective stock. There's no calculation involved here with regards to the VAT amount because that was given to you. So to show this, that output will be debited and the amount 3,885. If that output is debited, it means the VAT control account will be debited. Details, debtors control from the debtors allowance journal. But now we're not done. We still need to indicate, but this was now returned to our supplier. So if items are returned to our supplier, we need to now make an adjustment with VAT input. So in my VAT input, I'm going to have creditors control. 25,900 was the amount excluding VAT. So now we first need to work out the cost. To work out the cost, we need to say times 100 divided by 185. Then we need to times that by 15%. If that output is credited, it means that my VAT control account will be credited with 2,100 from the creditor's allowance journal. Transaction number 6, Self settled his account of 9,200 and received a 5% discount for early settlement. Self used his credit card to make the payment. So just an important point to remember there. Just because credit card is used there, don't think credit, but he bought on credit. It's got nothing to do with that. That's the form of payment. The business received cash. This debtor will owe money to the bank because he purchased with his credit card. To us, we've received cash. But now he settled his account and received a 5% discount for early settlement. Because discount was given to this debtor, it means we need to adjust our VAT output. That output will be debited, but now we first need to find out with how much. He settled his account, which means he paid it in full. 9,200 times 5% means he received 460 Rand discount. That is including the VAT amount. So to find out the VAT, we need to say times 15 divided by 115. If my VAT output is debited, it means that VAT control account will be debited and the amount is 60 Rand. Transaction number 7. A debtor, North Scott, was declared insolvent. His estate paid 20 cents in the rand and the rest must be written off as bad debts. Received 2,760 from his estate. So what needs to happen here? Because his account will be written off as bad debts, it means we can get a reduction in the amount payable to SARS. In that output, we first need to calculate, but what is the amount that should be written off? Now be careful here. They provided you with the amount which was received from his estate. This means to find out the amount that should be written off, we need to say times 80 divided by 20. Then we can work out the VAT amount and say times 15 divided by 115. Why? Because the amount that should be written off will include the VAT amount. If VAT output is debited, it means that my VAT control account will be debited and the amount 1,440. This will happen in my general journal. Once we're done with all the transactions, we now need to balance the VAT control account. If I add the credit side, you will see that the credit side is more than the debit side. So the difference of 15,179 will be my balance carried down, means August the 1st, balance brought down. And that is the amount now payable to SARS. Take note, we went from SARS owing us. Now, at the end of this month, we owe SARS. Question 4.3. Brooklyn bought a new Volkswagen Polo through the business for his son's 18th birthday. The cost of the car was $220,000 plus VAT of $33,000. He recorded this in the name of Super Bicycles Limited. As the external auditor, what comment would you make regarding this? Comment on the behavior of the owner and identify which car principle is not adhered to. This is unethical for the owner to let her son use the vehicle. The business entity concept is applicable here. If the owner decides to buy the vehicle for own personal use, that should have been shown as drawings. It's not a business expense. The vehicle will not be used in the business but for personal reasons. Assets belong to the business, therefore should be a business use. The business has carried the cost of the vehicle, VAT and insurance and is getting no benefit from the asset. Depreciation will be calculated on the vehicle, which will impact the net profit. This will have an impact on the amount payable to SARS on income tax as the business is registered as a company. So to recap on this, there's nothing wrong if the owner wants to buy a vehicle for his son's 18th birthday and the business pays for it. But then it should have been shown as drawings and he cannot claim that VAT because it will not be used for the business but for personal reasons. If it's for the business, then the son can't use the vehicle for personal reasons if it's not going to be used for the business. Thank you very much. Next, we're going to look at activity 5. Never say, I can't. Always say, I'll try. Have a wonderful day.